Regarding my work, which is to focus on tax foreclosure, the update is that the Wayne County Treasurer has announced a moratorium on tax foreclosure for the year 2020. So anyone who was at risk of losing their home is now, they still owe the money, the debt is still owing on the property, but they cannot be foreclosed upon by the Wayne County Treasurer. So that has provided a relief in terms of this time constraint for a lot of homeowners. Not everyone with property tax issues is a homeowner, though. The majority of tax foreclosed properties nowadays are actually landlord owned and renter occupied. So that can be a challenge for renters that their landlord doesn't necessarily have to pay the taxes, but they may have a burden of continuing to pay rent. Fortunately, we do have a moratorium, which is much more short term. We have a temporary moratorium on evictions in the 36th District Court that is currently up to the end of the month. And this is not my area of expertise, but I will let you know that currently it's not lawful for a bailiff to come out. You know, there's no active evictions happening right now. However, there were a lot of cases in process right before the pause. And so we are preparing at UCHC to make sure that we're not seeing a crush of evictions happening as soon as the bar is lifted. We found that within 3 days alone of court cases, there were 500 cases and 150 of them have a writ, which means a bailiff could be summoned with very short notice. So we're trying to make sure that we don't find immediate displacement following this crisis. Back to the property tax foreclosure, they're really important updates if you are a homeowner, if you're low income. The city of Detroit has done a very excellent job in making available the HPTAP. It's a really bad name. It goes by HPTAP, poverty exemption, property tax exemption. What it is a discount on your current year property taxes if you are a low income owner. And that is wonderful. But now you can leverage your HPTAP to actually get out of a lot of your debt with the Wayne County Treasurer. Just before the pandemic took over, we had a law passed in the state of Michigan legislature, which enables low-income owners who are approved for their poverty exemption to receive massive discounts on their delinquent taxes. And it's going to change the game for a lot of homeowners who have just been carrying this debt year to year. And that is called PAYS, P-A-Y-S. It's an acronym standing for Pay As You Stay. And we're really encouraging people to pay off in a lump sum. They can see huge savings, and we don't want to run any risk that if they fail to adhere perfectly to the plan, that they might get kicked off. So we're working with people now. The Wayne County Treasurer claims that this will be implemented this month, although we haven't yet seen anyone get access to it. If anyone has questions about tax foreclosure, we have a hotline. We are operating it remotely. We have a lot of data access we can do remotely. Our number is 313-405-7726.
Congress passed something called the CARES Act, and that's an acronym. And it affects people who have a mortgage that is backed by the federal government in any kind of way. And I would really encourage people to look this up, because your mortgage might be backed by the federal government without you knowing. Even if you work with a mortgage servicer that is a company like Bank of America or Chase, the federal government might actually be involved. I would really encourage people to draw on a couple of resources. One is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's website. And if you Google Consumer Financial Protection Bureau mortgage relief options, they have a very helpful guide available online and a lot of information that you can use to see if you are covered by this and what exactly is the relief that is offered. If you are a tenant, there's other relief that might be available to you as well. So if you are a tenant in either federally subsidized housing, which a lot of people would call Section 8, there's a lot of different kinds of federally subsidized housing, or if you're a tenant that simply rents a home that has a mortgage on it that is one of those federally backed mortgages, you may also be entitled to relief through the CARES Act that Congress passed recently. There's only one significant exception to the prohibition on evictions, which is except when the tenant, vendee, or person holding under them poses a substantial risk to another person or an imminent and severe risk to property. And so unless you're covered by that, you as a tenant or land contract vendee are protected from eviction during this time. And if your landlord is trying to evict you during this time, that is a misdemeanor under the executive order and the law of Michigan. So you should report them if they are trying to do that. It does not mean that if you are a tenant that is not covered by the CARES Act, Governor Whitmer, her executive order does not mean that you don't have to pay rent. The law on paying rent still applies just like it did before. It is unaffected by the executive order that Governor Whitmer signed. All it means is that your landlord cannot evict you during this time.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.